Hello and welcome to episode 20 of Stay on Target, Games Radar Plus's weekly trip to a galaxy far, far away. This week we're going to have a look at Star Wars Aftermath, the novel, and Shattered Empire, the Marvel comic, which have picked up the story after Return of the Jedi. But before that, we're going to do a bit of news. With me today is Will Salmon, the editor of Comic Heroes. I'm Richard Edwards, the editor of SFX magazine. Now, first of all, there's been a bit of episode 8 news. Well, we kind of knew already, but Benicio del Toro has let a cat out of the bag and basically said, yes, I'm the villain.
Heavily rumoured for a while, hasn't it? It's looking like bad news for Kylo Ren.
Yeah, unless he sort of say, you know, this is his master or something.
Yeah,
we know there are a few bad guys. I mean, yeah, Benicio said, I think we start shooting in March. I'm like the villain, which I think is pretty categoric.
Yeah. Not room for ambiguity there.
But he's good acting. He's in the Marvel universe as well.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Also, more episode 8 news. They're going back to shoot on Skellig Michael, the island off the coast of Ireland, which has got a monastery on it. There's been a bit of controversy because the conservationists want to protect it, but it suggests that that's obviously going to be quite an important location.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, do we actually know what it is that's been filmed there yet?
No, we don't know what scenes, but they were there for episode 7.
Yes,
and
exactly,
I mean, I'm wondering if the monastery is crucial and it's going to be some kind of Sith temple.
Yes, maybe where Supreme Leader Snoke is hanging out.
Yes, this is a pleasant island by the appearance.
Yeah.
And in other news, Marvel has just announced a new C-3PO comic, which is going to be set after Return of the Jedi. And interestingly, it seems that the big hook of that is that we're going to find out how he got his red arm.
Yeah, it's not the most thrilling hook to put on the front of your comic book, but you know they're good at spinning out good tales from these things.
I mean, especially you look at C-3PO, who is a character who has a long history of losing limbs. I mean, it's hardly headline news, is it? You know, he is quite careless with his arms and legs.
It'll be amazing if he makes it through the full of the new trilogy without losing at least one other limb along the way.
But I guess it's coming in December. That's pretty close to The Force Awakens, so I guess there's going to be some sort of key plot elements there, and it's going to be leading into Revenge of the Sith. Sorry, Revenge of the Sith. I'm getting The Force Awakens, and we're going to find out a little bit more about where the galaxy is at that point, I guess.
They're teasing this stuff out very.
It's very clever, isn't it?
Piece by piece.
And there's kind of obviously this big plan going on because we're just looking at the figures that have come out. We haven't seen a figure of Luke Skywalker, for example.
No.
So someone's pulling some strings.
Supreme Leader Snoke.
Yeah. Talking of pulling strings and telling a long game, we're going to now have a look at some of the expanded universe because last week we've seen the launch of Star Wars Aftermath, the first novel set after Return of the Jedi, and Star Wars Shattered Empire, which is the first Marvel comic. So now I will warn you now that there might be some spoilers if you haven't read Shattered Empire or Aftermath, but we're going to talk around them because there's some really interesting points that lead into The Force Awakens. Now, first of all, I'm going to say I've read Aftermath. Will has read Shattered Empire, the first issue. So Shattered Empire, first of all, can you just explain a bit about where it's set and sort of some of the interesting bits about it?
Sure. Well, it's literally set the minute after Return of the Jedi and then the next day. So you open up with a really lovely kind of battle sequence. Some really beautiful art by Marco Cicchetto, I think his name is. And it basically follows a character called Shara Bay, who is an A-Wing pilot who's attacking the Death Star, helps Luke escape from the Death Star, you know, sort of flies alongside him so he doesn't get shot down. And then we're on Endor, and it's the party after the destruction of the Death Star, and then she goes off and meets her husband, who has quite a familiar name for Force Awakens fans.
Which is?
It is Sergeant Kez Dameron.
So presumably he's Poe Dameron's dad.
We've got to imagine that, that these are Poe's parents.
I mean, Dameron could be the Smith of the Star Wars universe. Could be a really common surname.
We don't know, no, absolutely. But that's certainly what they're teasing us with. And so there's not a lot of plot in the first issue. The first issue is basically battle, celebrate, battle.
Which version of the Ewok song do they have?
They don't go into that. Far. They skirt around that issue.
These are the things that these comics and books should be talking about.
Yeah, although you do get to see more Ewoks fighting stormtroopers, which is always a winner.
So there's still some stormtroopers around.
Yeah. So basically, there is another Imperial outpost on Endor, which they attack. The interesting thing with that is, as well as feeling obviously leading the way into The Force Awakens, it feels a little bit like it's nodding towards Rogue One, because the whole issue is very much military focused. It's the rebels as a competent military outfit taking out Imperial outposts.
Who we know aren't a particularly competent Imperial outfit.
And they are slaughtered by teddy bears again. So, yeah, it's very, very good book, I think. It's very hard to tell where the plot's going to go on the basis of one issue, but art-wise, it's lovely. Greg Rucka's a good writer. Yeah, it's intriguing.
Now, Star Wars Aftermath by Chuck Wendig, which has just come out, is set a little bit after Shattered Empire, sort of indeterminate time after the destruction of the second Death Star. Now, it's actually got a plot which is set on the New World Akiva, which kind of is the main driving force of the novel. But at the same time, there are these little interludes which pick up with other characters from the Star Wars universe, and they're all pretty much more interesting than the main novel, because of the little hints that they give to the Star Wars universe in general. Now, there's a little bit of Mon Mothma. Of course, we only saw her in the original movies doing the Rebel briefing, and we sort of find out that she's trying to make the New Republic not at all like the Empire, so giving people a decision. But no one's really that interested in Mon Mothma. More interesting stuff happens on the Millennium Falcon, where we meet Han and Chewie, and they're on a sort of mission for the rebellion. But they then go a little bit rogue and go and try to help out Kashyyyk, which is still under Imperial rule, and the Wookiees are all being slaves. Now that is interesting.
Yes, yeah, and that's something, an area of Star Wars continuity that I was not particularly aware of.
Well, probably. I mean, it wouldn't have been there before because.
Right,
I
sure.
mean, this is.
I wasn't sure if this was deep expanded universe stuff that has been held over or not.
Well, I mean, so some stuff is being,
Yeah.
and others, but basically, you know, all bets are off because don't expect to see Mara Jade basically in any of these.
No. But so isn't the idea that basically there's only kind of 5 or 6 free Wookiees left, like literally only a handful now?
Well, we also meet another Wookiee in Aftermath as well.
Okay, interesting.
But I mean, I think what this does set up is maybe Han Solo going a little bit rogue and not basically following New Republic orders. Does this put him at odds with Leia? And there's been a lot of speculation that Han and Leia aren't together at the start of the movie.
Ah, interesting.
So maybe their sort of love match doesn't actually last that long.
Well, it's perfectly in character for Han.
Yeah.
You know, he's not going to play by anyone's rules apart from his own. I'm intrigued to know if that's because obviously Marvel have got a Chewbacca mini-series coming out, and I don't know when that's set. I'm not sure if that's been announced yet, and that makes me wonder: is that possibly the plot? Is this mission to free the Wookiees the plot of the comic? Not sure.
It's a difficult one to do though, a Wookiee comic. The dialogue's going to be tricky.
Yeah, good point.
Unless it's sort of all thought bubbles. Now also there's a little vignette, let's call it a vignette, on Tatooine where somebody finds a bit of Mandalorian armour, which, and I quote, is pitted and pocked as if with some kind of acid. Almost like it's been in some kind of stomach.
Yeah, who could that be?
Oh no. Well, one of the guys from the Lucasfilm Story Group, who's responsible for plotting the sort of new sort of continuity, has said that Boba Fett is in a kind of Schrodinger's cat situation, that he's alive and dead until someone makes the decision. So, I mean, surely they wouldn't be mad enough to leave Boba Fett out of the universe forever.
No.
He's going to be back, isn't he?
They're going to tease that along until they need him to make a surprise entrance in one of the saga films, or until the eventual inevitable Solo movie. Not Han Solo, Solo Boba Fett.
Also, there's another little interesting bit where we find someone trying to buy Darth Vader's lightsaber. On the wall, there's some graffiti that says Vader lives, and there's this sort of hint of this sort of, I mean, almost Darth Vader fanboys, or this sort of cult around Darth Vader. Now we kind of know that's going to be Kylo Ren, that he's obsessed. So this is, I guess, setting that up.
Yes, yeah. It makes you wonder if that's perhaps the start of Knights of Ren in general, if they are a Sith cult. Sort of taking Vader's lead, perhaps. Graffiti
doesn't really feel a very Star Wars universe kind of thing, does it?
Does it?
Stormtroopers go home. You know. Also, we find out a little bit about, I think, where the First Order might come from, because the Empire is very much at play in Aftermath. We actually see some of the remaining Imperial officers trying to get together, trying to work out what to do next. Even some of them seem to think Palpatine was mad, which is quite interesting. They accept that, but come the end, we kind of realise that there's a puppet master who's basically getting rid of all his enemies, and he actually says that the Empire had become an ugly, inelegant machine and crude and inefficient, and that basically, while he likes the ideals, it needs to be a new way of doing things, which sounds very much like it could be the First Order.
Yes, yeah, that's clearly what they're teasing. I guess the question is, who is that person, and if he's going to be the big bad that we see in the film, or if that's a red herring.
Well, it sounds like at this point he's an admiral.
Yeah.
But that could mean anything, and we know that, I mean, if you're calling yourself Supreme Leader, that's not in a standard military chain of command, I guess. So
no.
If you're declaring yourself. So, all looking quite interesting. Not too long to go, so I think we're going to find out a bit more information through the comics between now and...
less than 100 days.
It is less than 100 days.
Yeah.
Very exciting. So, we'll be back next week to talk more Star Wars. You can read a little bit about the expanded universe and how Lucasfilm has gone about recreating it in the next issue of SFX, which is on sale on Wednesday the 16th of September. But in the meantime, may the Force be with you.